the aftermath of the Jimmy Butler trade, the Golden State Warriors must make this move to fulfill a league requirement by this Thursday. So only a couple more days for Golden State to get this done until they face some penalties. We'll talk about this move in just a moment. But first, like I mentioned on yesterday's show, coming to your show now on Warriors Today, we have Tuesday trivia. Let's get fired up for this weekly segment on the show. My first question to you guys is this. With the Warriors having a kind of an issue, right, getting to the free throw line for the first half of this season, what 90s Warrior holds the record for most free throws attempted in one game in franchise history? Let me know your answer down in the comments section and like the video to lock in that answer. I'll be going down and seeing who got it first and who got it correctly, and I'll give them a shout out on tomorrow's program. All right, as it currently stands for Golden State, they have 12 players signed to standard contracts. And the NBA requirement as of right now is that you have 14 players signed to standard deals so that you can go on with the rest of the regular season. And in that Jimmy Butler trade, obviously Golden State loses like 4 players, Lindy Waters, Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Anderson, and Andrew Wiggins. And they only get back 1 in Jimmy Butler. So that created 3 open roster spots for Golden State. Now, we'd heard a couple of days ago, and I made a short here on the channel, that talked about Kevin Knox reportedly being signed to a 10-day contract, which is not actually but put pen to paper yet, but we expect him to be a part of the roster soon. We'll talk about him more in a moment. But they must make another signing by Thursday to be at that 14-player threshold. Now, I'm not exactly sure what the penalty is for Golden State if they do not meet this requirement by Thursday, but I have read a little bit about it, and it looks like they could have a cap hold on on the books, so that it makes it more difficult for them to sign more players for the rest of the season when they do make that decision. So Golden State probably doesn't want to, cross that road, as they are pretty hard pressed up against that first apron hard cap. But as it stands right now, Golden State has 3 roster spots because we know Kevin Knox has not put pen to paper exactly yet, and they are about 1.3, close to $1.4 million below that hard cap at the first apron. And as far as what the prorated vet minimum deals would be the rest of the season, as far as the days they have on their books right now, it's a pretty good number, right? 113 days. We know there are less than 113 days throughout the rest of the regular season. So this would give them the opportunity potentially to sign 2 guys, 2 standard deals for the rest of the time. If you stretch out what an NBA player would make on a given day and stretch it out over 113 days, that's what the number matches up. You see this number is very close here. It's about $5,000 less, and that's just the way that it goes. If I was doing the quick math in my head here, it looks like it would cost a little bit over $10,000 for a player to be signed per day on a vet minimum deal for the rest of the season. So Golden State has 113 vet minimum days available to kind of work with here for the rest of the year, and Kevin Knox is kind of included in those as well. Here's what Luke Adams from Hoops Rumors had to say, kind of giving you more details and exposition on the situation for Golden State. He said a rest of season contract signed on February 20th, which is Thursday, would cover 53 days, which means 2 rest of season deals would total 106 days. Obviously, we know Golden State has 113, so that would fit in their threshold. If the Warriors go that route, they wouldn't be able to squeeze in a 15th man until there are just 8 days left in the season. And that crop of players that would be available for those last 8 days of the year probably wouldn't all be that great. So I don't think the Warriors are going to go this route. I don't think they're going to sign 2 guys to standard deals the rest of the year, especially when we know that Kevin Knox was just signed to a 10-day contract for Golden State. Obviously not pen to paper put down yet, but the two sides have agreed to a deal. And Knox has been in Golden State's G League affiliate in Santa Cruz so far this year. He's put up really, really good numbers. But for a number 9 overall pick that got drafted way back when in 2019, wasn't exactly the player that, 2018, I believe. It wasn't exactly the player that lived up to his draft billing, right? Over his career in 306 games, really mediocre numbers, bad efficiencies. He wasn't this big scoring efficient guard or wing that he was at Kentucky, but is kind of trying to do the comeback route now, kind of doing a thing that some other lottery picks of his era have done to get themselves back into the NBA and be a rotation player. And he's done that so far in the G League in 16 games this season. Basically 20-point per game score, grabbing a bunch of rebounds. He is like 6'7", 6'8", so a player that Golden State doesn't really kind of have on their roster right now, a big rebounding scoring wing. And his efficiencies are solid. Like, he was never the most efficient three-point shooter, but he's getting up a few, I think 5 a game over in Santa Cruz, and the efficiencies aren't terrible. Maybe if he gets a couple of spot minutes for Golden State, he can knock down a couple of corner shots. And he was great for Golden State in the summer league as well. That's when many Warriors fans were clamoring for him to get one of those last couple of deals that Golden State was signing ahead of training camp. But obviously, we know that didn't necessarily work out. Now he's kind of gone back to the G League to show this Golden State front office and brass a little bit more of his game, and hopefully maybe that's enough for him to be pulled up into this roster and in rotation for this 10-day contract. Maybe he'll even get a second 10-day and be on the team the rest of the season. My question to you is this, though. During his 10-day contract, should Kevin Knox be in Steve Kerr's rotation? Should this be somebody that Golden State's trying to incorporate as it kind of lacks size at that wing position at this moment? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I'm trying to hear what Dub Nation has to say about Kevin Knox. Next up, it's only one roster spot that Golden State has tied up right now. They still got one more to fill. Who's going to fill that roster spot? That's what we'll discuss on the back half of today's show. But first, I got to give a major shout out to today's sponsor. That's Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports platform with over 10 million active members, including yours truly. I love Prize Picks. I was a customer even before they were even a sponsor here at Chat Sports because it's daily fantasy made easy. And they're always trying to hook you up with incredible deals, like a free $50 in your account when you download the app and sign up using our promo code CLNS. Who doesn't love free money? I know I do. And Prize Picks is so simple. All you guys got to do is pick a lineup of 2 to 6 player stat projections and just pick more or less. And you can combine sports. You can go branch off into the crazy sports that they got on ESPN, the Ocho, like darts or, like cricket or curling. They got it all. They got esports on Prize Picks. And you can mix and match sports as well. I like to stick to the basketball streets. And with pro ball coming back in these next coming days, I decided to take advantage of a Luka Doncic number that you don't see too often on Prize Picks. During his day with the Mavs, he was closer to 30 more or less points every single night. But ever since he's gotten acclimated to the Lakers, the numbers haven't really been there. I expect him out of the All-Star break to be firing on all cylinders and give me more than 24 points. Liam McNeely, the big wing freshman out of UConn, more than nine rebounds and assists. He's been eclipsing that number very, very frequently over the last 5-10 games. So give me that number at a low cost on Prize Picks. And then Walter Clayton Jr., the high-scoring guard out of the Florida Gators. Give me more than 2.5 3-pointers made against a pretty terrible Oklahoma Sooner defense. You can take my picks. You can fade my picks. Just make sure you go and do it at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use our promo code CLNS for $50 instantly when you place your first $5 entry. You don't even need to win to receive the $50. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. All that information will be clickable down in the comment section and description of today's video. More from Luke Adams here, talking about Golden State's cap situation and what they need to do here by Thursday's roster deadline. He said it sounds like the Warriors are more likely to sign a pair of players to two 10-day contracts on February 20th. They reportedly reached a 10-day deal with G League standout Kevin Knox, and I expect a similar agreement with a second player will be reported in the coming days. These 10-day contracts would eat up 20 of the club's remaining 114 days, leaving 94, and would allow Golden State to go another 2 weeks from March 2nd to 15th with fewer than 14 players under contract. That's interesting to me, right? Like, you get a little bit of a buffer period after these 10-day contracts are over. So could Golden State kind of finagle the system a little bit and sign 2 guys to 10 days, one being Knox, and then kind of let them ride for 2 weeks, go back to the G League and do whatever, and then sign them to another 10-day after that to maybe kind of give themselves more time to figure out somebody who they really, really want the rest of the season. Who knows? Maybe if Knox or whoever gets signed to that second 10-day deal could blossom in Golden State's lineup and be a blessing in disguise here for the home stretch of the season. It's likely they will not sign somebody that's incredibly impactful, though, on that second deal. Adam says this: at this point, there would just be 29 days left in the season, so the Warriors could fill 3 of their remaining roster spots and stay below the hard cap. And that's kind of the feeling that I'm having with Golden State. Luke makes great points. Like, I think Golden State's going to do a couple of 10-day deals here, see how that works out for the 2 guys, do a couple spot minutes here, spot minutes there. They got a couple of lesser opponents over this next couple of game stretch, so we'll see how that works out. Maybe they can get some minutes against the Hornets. Hopefully Golden State can get a couple of blowouts together and see what these guys have in store for them. But it's not likely that you're going to sign a crazy, impactful 10-day contract player. Hopefully Knox can kind of replicate what he's been doing in the G League. Maybe not on the overall production side, 19-7, but he could be an impactful player and play some solid defense. Just be hungry and give yourself a lot of effort and hope you can keep yourself in the NBA and not back to the G League. As far as another roster spot that could be filled up for Golden State, what about Jackson Rowe? This would be a little bit interesting because Rowe did just sign a 2-way contract on January 28th. So if they were to maybe give him a 10-day deal, you have to cut him and then re-sign him back to that. So Rowe would be in a position currently. I think that'd be very difficult to do, and probably not something that he necessarily wants to do either. Might not be up to him though. Rowe has been good in the G League though for Golden State in his times, or Santa Cruz, I should say, this season. He's been incredibly more efficient than Knox has been, and he was really a summer league standout as well. They signed him to that training camp deal, never ended up making the actual roster, but they kept him around in Santa Cruz, and he's been solid in those efforts, man. 15 and 9 basically on every single night, on over 50% from the field and 44% from three on over 4 attempts. I love what Jackson Rowe has been giving him, and he's like a 6'7", big beefy wing who can play hard defense on and give you a big effort on both ends of the floor. And like I said, if there's no standard deal that he gets converted to, I really think that if he gets that last roster spot, that they will convert him to a standard deal, kind of like they did with Quentin Post, even though Rowe hasn't shown nearly as much as Post did in the actual Warriors rotation. They would have to cut him and sign him to a 10-day deal if they wanted to go that route. And I'm not so sure that they want to. Might just keep him in that two-way window so they don't have to rely on him or guarantee him any money because he hasn't really earned it right now so far in this Warriors rotation. But actual 10-day targets that could be on Golden State's radar here. A couple of guys who are floating around free agency and might not be worth signing to a long-term standard deal for the rest of the season. What about Mo Bamba? I got Nah. Mo Bamba's been solid over the last couple of seasons, but hasn't really been able to find a solid landing spot so far. He's actually kind of expanded his game over the last couple of years and become more of a floor spacer. Maybe that's something that Golden State could be interested in. Somebody who can protect the rim at a high level and shoot the outside shot. Obviously, his numbers haven't been great, and if you can't stick on one of LeBron's teams, then you're probably not that good. But size, shooting, rim protection could be something that Golden State says it's probably worth taking a flyer on. What about somebody who's been in Golden State's organization before, and Juan Toscano-Anderson, JTA, who won the 2022 NBA Finals with Golden State? Somebody who's like kind of a do-it-all wing / two guard, 6'6", good size on him, but I don't know, man. Juan Toscano-Anderson's never been somebody who I've been terribly in love with as a player. Like, just doesn't really jump off the page for me and kind of doesn't really do anything overall great. Maybe he can give you some spot minutes and, be somebody who gives you a bunch of effort and high-energy guy on the defensive end. What about a guy named O'Shea Brissett, who's played for the Boston Celtics last year? I don't think he's actually been on a roster so far this year. It looked like he was trying to get back with Boston at some point, won the 2024 NBA Finals with them, played a lot of minutes last year, and was viewed when he got signed from the Indiana Pacers in free agency before the 23-24 season as somebody who could really impact Boston's team on their bench and be a part of that bench unit. Can hit the outside shot, can play a little bit of defense. I'm not going to say he's an elite defender by any means, but definitely another name to look at if Golden State wanted somebody who's bigger at 6'7" and can space the floor a little bit, shoot that corner three. Also, a name that maybe you guys haven't heard since he was drafted by the Timberwolves way back when, Jarrett Culver, who has been quietly making a name for himself in the G League so far this year. 11 points a game, 5 rebounds a night for the Osceola Magic. Shout out Mac McClung down there in the Orlando area. But this is somebody who's been improving his game and someone who is never going to be that outside shooter. He struggled with that in college, struggled with that once he got to the NBA, and really isn't shooting the three ball all that effectively right now, but is somebody who can be a defensive savant, somebody who can stick on a bench wing and feel okay leaving him on an island with. I'll tell you right now, I think Jared Culver's probably a better defender than Buddy Hield, straight up. But at the end of the day, none of these names are necessarily going to be too impactful for Golden State, and I might have not named all the guys that are out there, and maybe even not the best 4 guys. I just named a couple of guys who I thought Golden State might have some interest in, as they do have some deficiencies at size on the wing and in the front court as well. Let me know, though. Is there a name that I didn't say, or is there a name out of those 4, or even Jackson Rowe as well, who you would be interested in Golden State signing? Who should the Warriors sign with their 14th roster spot? Kevin Knox already locked up that 13th spot, but who should get Golden State back to that requirement for that 14th roster spot? Let me know down in the comments section. As always, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Subscribe to Warriors Today if you're a diehard Dubs fan and you're watching this video about Golden State filling up their 14th roster spot. I know you're a Warriors sicko. So for free daily and entertaining and informative Golden State Warriors content, subscribe right here at Warriors Today. We'll see you in the next one. Let's go Dubs.